watching the waves roll by. Roll by. Standing in the ocean, watching the waves roll by. Roll by.
Sea kayaking is a fantastic activity which allows us to explore beautiful places, see wildlife in their habitat,
Wow.
and get some much needed exercise. But worrying about what happens if you capsize can hold a lot of people back. It's easy to see why we want to roll our kayaks. Having the ability to avoid a wet exit can prevent us from getting cold and wet, keep us out of danger, and give us confidence.
This DVD is about rolling a sea kayak. We firmly believe that it's not that complicated, but sometimes it intimidates people.
When you first start paddling, or if you don't paddle very much, it's a constant process to get comfortable on the water. When you learn how to roll, and learn how to roll well, you don't worry about being on the water, because oftentimes you're in the water. So you can find comfort, support, and relaxation in the water itself. That, in turn, gives you a lot of confidence. You can explore edging, rock gardens, surf, whatever. It's really a great confidence builder.
Long ago and far away, a rolling junkie met a rolling fool,
and we decided to roll around the world. I'm Sherry Perry.
And I'm Turner Wilson, and we collectively are kayakways.net. We teach Greenland skills, we build Greenland kayaks, we build skinny sticks.
We travel and we teach rolling and paddling. I've been paddling a long time. It was just an independent way to enjoy nature and get away from crowds. I added rolling later, and I did it because I had very short periods of time, maybe an hour. My son was little, so then I would drop my kayak in a pond and just roll for a bit. And I found it quiet and relaxing underneath the water, but it did increase my confidence level. And the more I learned to roll from different angles, I felt more and more comfortable. Then I know I'll be able to roll up and sort myself out and without having to be rescued.
I got started in sea kayaking by being intrigued by the traditional techniques, actually. I was also very interested in the idea of learning how to roll first, rather than being dependent on people. I've always been an independent sort.
This DVD will introduce you to the basic foundation skills of Greenland rolling.
The rolls we will be showing you have their origins hundreds of years ago. They were developed by hunters in Greenland whose lives depended on being able to roll in near freezing water. They invented a range of different rolls so they could recover from a capsize in any position with whatever they were holding in their hands.
The Inuit ways seem to make a lot of sense for us. They create a little bit more of an independent paddler. You learn to roll, and you learn to roll well from every angle, and then you go paddling second.
There are 35 different rolls in the Greenland competition.
This DVD will focus on the primary roles in our experience. The rolls that are most useful to you in real water conditions.
We will be showing you 3 rolls: the standard Greenland roll, the reverse sweep, and the storm roll. Neither of us feel that just one roll in and of itself is enough to keep you from swimming in any situation. These 3 rolls on both sides make a complete package so you can roll up from any direction that you get pushed over in.
You can roll either backward or forward depending on what the water is telling you is in your best interest.
We've organized the DVD with the standard Greenland roll first because it's the easiest to learn, and it will give you a good roll to come up with when you're trying to learn the others. The standard Greenland roll is the simplest roll in the family of aft finishing rolls. The second roll is the reverse sweep. That roll is directly opposite of the standard roll. It's also a good roll because you recover over the front deck, which is a really good thing to learn. The storm roll is the most difficult of the 3. It's a forward-to-forward roll. And while it's difficult, it's the best one to have in your pocket. The storm roll is the fastest, easiest way to come up in rough water. It leaves you looking forward, ready to go.
These 3 rolls allow you to take advantage of your body's buoyancy in the water in a way that many other rolls do not. They don't require force, they don't require strength. All they require of you is a little bit of practice, understanding the fundamentals, and really working out the details in terms of the technique. After that, you're good to go.
In this DVD, you will see rolls done well, and you will see people learning these rolls.
We're hoping to provide you with a progression so that you can sensibly, easily move from one step to the next by yourself or with a friend.
That being said, there is no one right way to learn all of these rolls, but there are some logical paths, and we hope to present them to you clearly.
We use the Greenland stick and prefer skin-on frame kayaks.
But we'll be showing you how these rolls adapt to other paddles and kayaks.
We firmly believe that the true skills of rolling the kayak involve what you do with your body.
The body does the roll, you're rolling right from the core, and the arms are a much smaller part of it. So it doesn't matter if you're holding a Greenland blade or a Euro blade or maybe no blade at all. It's more what the body's doing. It's in the body.
So let's have a little enthusiasm. Go out there and get it done.
Give it a go. Before we look at the roll, we want to introduce you to some key concepts which will help you.
There are a lot of good ideas about rolling a kayak. But one thing you should always keep in mind, no matter what roll you're working on, move your kayak first, keep your head in the water until last.
In Greenland skills, and in fact most rolling, the basic idea is to move the kayak first and move the head out of the water last. It's very counterintuitive for people when they're first learning how to roll, but it's extremely important. And if you do that, if you think of your kayak as your loved one, take care of the boat first. The kayak will take care of you. If you're selfish and think of your brain and your air first, you'll be wet exiting a lot.
What I have here is an object that represents basically the weight of the human head. If you try to raise this head first, you have a lot of extra work. So don't be a rockhead. If we could say just one thing, can you hear our mantra in your ear? Move the kayak first. Head out of the water last.
So how do you turn the kayak first and leave your head in the water until last? Well, we have 4 fundamental points which will help you to follow the mantra. These key concepts apply to every Greenland-style roll. In this chapter, we'll focus on the standard roll, and we'll look at the forward finishing rolls in more detail later. The first key point is to drive with one leg.
So which leg helps you recover?
Right, the downhill one.
Very nice. When people first learn to roll, they're often confused about how to use their legs. Many people engage the kayak with both legs, and as you can see, nothing much rolls. What we really want to do is apply force, directional pressure with one leg.
So to turn the kayak, we need to drive upward with one leg only. But which leg is it? When I lift my right leg, the right side of the kayak comes up. When I lift my left leg, the left side comes up. The more I push, the more it tilts. When I start to capsize, if I drive up with my water leg hard, I can bring the kayak up underneath me. It's the same, no matter how deep I go.
Even upside down, the relationship is the same. Water or bottom leg drives the kayak.
We can see this more clearly if we can see into the kayak. When you drive with your lower leg, the kayak becomes more upright. Alternatively, if you drive with your upper leg, the kayak falls back on top of you, preventing you from recovering.
So when Sherry is in the water on this side, her bottom leg is actually the action that will drive the kayak. The top leg is very neutral and very passive. So you'll notice here she's experimenting with those two legs, back and forth, engaging one and then the other. You'll notice as soon as she engages the top leg, the kayak comes over her in the wrong direction. So we don't really want that top leg involved. We really want it quiet and passive all the way along.
So we drive with the lower leg to recover and keep the upper leg passive. Notice what happens when I pick up my head. If I pick up my head for whatever reason, it engages the top leg and the kayak immediately comes on top of me. And the top leg's pressing this end of the kayak over into the water on top of me. And it becomes very difficult to roll from this position. This shows why it's so important to take your head out of the water last. Our body parts are all connected. Raising your head activates your upper leg, sabotaging your roll. On the other hand, arching your head back facilitates driving the lower leg, giving it the freedom to rotate the kayak to recovery. In fact, it's not just your leg that drives the kayak over, it's your whole body. When doing the aft finishing roll, you start with driving your leg. But as the kayak moves off of you and your body becomes more open, you start driving through the hip. And right here, really pressing up through the hip and then arching from the tip of your tail right through the top of your head, arching your back. So to summarize, what we do with our legs is really crucial in rolling. Drive up with the lower leg to turn the kayak first. And leave your head in the water until last to avoid engaging your upper leg and sabotaging your roll. Rather than fighting the water, another key point is to use the buoyancy of our bodies to float. So one of the interesting things about the Inuit way of rolling is it uses the body's natural ability to float on the water. So the aft finishing rolls, you're floating on your back as if you were floating in a pool without a kayak. Or you're floating chest down on forward finishing rolls. Using the body's natural ability to float, it's easier to do the roll. It's more of a technique than muscle or strength.
Remember, when you learn to swim, you also learn to back float. How do we do this? Well, we arch back in the water, drop our head, arch our spine, spread our hands, and breathe.
It's the same in a kayak. The bottom half of my body is floating in the kayak. I don't have to think about it. The upper half of my body is floating on the surface of the water.
If I drop one shoulder and raise another, I'm not going to float.
Same thing with a kayak. If I lift one shoulder, but if I get on my back, I'll be floating on the surface of the water. Then I can just use my abdominal muscles to get onto the back deck. Getting in this floating position with your shoulders parallel to the water and your head down is very important in aft finishing rolls. One of the primary reasons that rolls fail is trying to get back to the safety of the kayak too quickly without first squaring your shoulders flat to the surface of the water. On the left screen, notice that my shoulder is sinking and I'm looking away from the kayak. I can't drive with my lower leg and the kayak is falling over on top of me. On the right screen, I'm correctly floating on my back, looking upward with both shoulders floating on the water, facing the sky. It's easy for me to drive with my water leg from this position, and you can see the kayak is well on its way to being upright. It may be helpful to think of, instead of capsizing and going to the back deck of the kayak, to really think about capsizing, pausing, floating on the surface of the water before you recover to the back deck of the kayak.
In Greenland style rolling, there's this wonderful place between right side up and upside down. Get in the habit of exploring this zone right at the water surface. Float there, then recover to your kayak.
Another key concept is rotation. In rolling, we need to rotate our body in order to get our shoulders parallel to the surface of the water. Think of rotation from your toes, through your legs and hips, into the rib cage and up into the shoulders. This rotation allows your upper body to float and gives leverage to your water leg. Rotation is something that happens throughout the roll. You rotate as much as you can at setup and through to recovery. So you think you've rotated your paddle into position, but don't forget about your body. It's important to rotate your body into position also, not just your paddle. Think about getting your shoulders down the center line of the kayak. If your body won't let you do that, then do the best that you can. Rotating the body is important because it integrates the stronger core muscles into the roll, rather than relying on arm strength and putting too much strain on the shoulders. It's important to rotate, not just to complete the roll, but to make sure your shoulders are safe. The best way to keep your shoulders safe is to have your hands shoulder width apart, each hand at its own shoulder, and rotate from your core like this. It's bad for your shoulder when you have one hand down the loom and you rotate like this. It leaves the shoulder wide open for an injury. The other way you can injure your shoulder is to have your hands shoulder width apart, but then extend them away from your body and behind you like this. You really want to avoid doing that. In order to turn the kayak, we need to effectively transfer energy from our body. If we coil our bodies up like this, then we're storing energy, which we can then release by uncoiling. This coiling, combined with rotation, is what rolls the kayak. It's a bit like using our body like a spring. The more we tuck and untuck, the more springy we are, the better chance we have of completing the roll. In the standard Greenland roll, you start coiled and end uncoiled. Don't worry if you can't rotate or tuck as much as you'd like. A think it's important to remember the roll can be done by all different kinds of people, and you may see some people in the DVD that are really flexible, but it's important to remember the kayak's not asking you to be flexible, it's just asking for the correct action to be applied. So as long as your head is back to the best of your ability and your knee, the correct leg is pressing up into the top of the kayak, you'll be able to roll. So to recap, turn the kayak first, head out of the water last. To achieve this, drive with your lower or water leg. Float on the water before coming to the back deck. Rotate. And think like a spring. Another key concept to consider before attempting to roll is what to do with your paddle. Excellent, Sonia. Really good. While we are keen to stress that what you do with your body is really important in rolling, the paddle can help you in several different ways.
Everything you do with a kayak paddle has a foundation with 3 different actions.
Sweep, pry, scull. All 3 blade actions give you support and help you recover from your capsize. In a sweep, the paddle moves horizontally near the surface of the water.
This is the basic energy of a sweep.
The leading edge must be higher than the trailing edge to get support. If your leading edge is lower than the trailing edge, then your blade will dive and you won't get support. An effective sweep is a key feature of the Greenland Standard roll. It is also an important part of the reverse sweep and storm rolls.
In its simplest terms, this is a pry. Straight down. The face goes straight into the pry.
There is no leading blade edge in a pry. A pry is a very powerful tool, however, and it's possible to recover from a capsize just using one. Both the reverse sweep and the storm rolls can use an element of pry. When you come to the end of your sweep or pry, the support from the paddle ends. You've either completed your roll or you are greeting the fishes. Sculling, unlike sweeping or prying, offers continuous support. You always have a leading edge in sculling, but the leading edge changes depending on direction. If you are doing it correctly, you see a spilling dam of water off the trailing edge.
If your roll ever fails, you can recover using sculling. Or you can add a scull to the end of your roll if you need an extra bit of support. Some rolls just use sculling to recover, and we'll look at these in our second DVD. Now we've introduced the key concepts. Let's move on to the rolls.